The warm salt spray kissed my face as the seaplane touched down, and I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that I'd made a mistake. Coral Cove Resort, nestled on a remote island paradise, was supposed to be my fresh start. A chance to prove myself after a string of unfortunate events had tarnished my reputation in the hospitality industry. Instead, as I disembarked, I felt a chill wind cut through the tropical heat, whispering of trouble. My name is Alex Ryder, and I was the new manager. The previous manager, poor Mr. Henderson, had apparently accidentally fallen off a pier, making him the third, according to the locals, person to suffer an untimely death at Coral Cove. The resort had once been a jewel, but now it was struggling. A series of unfortunate events, a faulty generator that caused a power outage during a gala, a near-drowning incident, a mysterious fire in the kitchen, had scared off the tourists and left the staff demoralized. The first few days were a whirlwind. I walked the grounds, met the staff, and tried to assess the damage. The resort was beautiful, a collection of thatched roof bungalows scattered along a pristine beach, but the infrastructure was aging, and there was a pervasive air of unease. My biggest contact was Elias Thorne, the island's charismatic and seemingly affable village elder. He greeted me with a broad smile and a warm handshake. "Welcome to Coral Cove, Mr. Ryder. We are so happy to have you. We have much faith in your ability to restore our beautiful resort to its former glory." He was a large man, with weathered features and eyes that seemed to see right through you, but his charm was undeniable. He offered to help me settle in and introduced me to the local customs. He seemed like a genuine friend, and I was grateful for his support. The first real warning sign came during a routine inspection of the resort's electrical system. The wiring was old and faulty, clearly a fire hazard. When I confronted the maintenance crew, they shrugged, saying they'd reported it numerous times, but the parts had never arrived. Then, a near miss with a charter boat, the engine sputtered out just before the passengers reached the reef, a very popular spot for snorkeling. It felt like a deliberate act of sabotage. Then, I started finding anonymous notes slipped under my door. "Leave now," one read. "You are in danger." Another, more cryptic, mentioned a hidden cove and a forgotten history. Driven by a growing sense of unease and my own stubborn nature, I decided to investigate. Elias was always around, offering a helping hand, so I kept my suspicions to myself. I began to dig deeper into the accidents. I spoke with the surviving staff, who were surprisingly tight-lipped, but I sensed a fear that went beyond mere concern for their jobs. I spent hours poring over old records, and it was then that I found something intriguing. The resort's original blueprints, hidden away in the dusty archives, revealed a hidden cove, a small, secluded stretch of beach that wasn't marked on any current map. This cove, the old blueprints noted, held a key to the island's history and a potential source of great wealth. One evening, during a particularly fierce thunderstorm, I found an old photo album hidden in Elias's office. The photos were faded and water-damaged, but they revealed a disturbing truth. There were pictures of Elias, much younger, with a group of men I'd seen on the island but who were supposed to be long gone. In one photo, they were standing in front of a modern building, one that was the same design and layout as Elias' home, which was far larger than any of the other islanders. Then I saw something truly shocking. A map, clearly showing the location of the resort, with a red circle around the hidden cove. The next page showed more of the same pictures from old, and a new layout with the resort itself highlighted and encircled in red. The next day, I discovered that the charter boat's engine had been tampered with. The generator problems, I realized, had also been engineered. And the fire in the kitchen, it wasn't an accident. The more I looked, the clearer it became, these weren't isolated incidents. Someone was actively trying to run the resort into the ground. I confronted Elias the next evening. I'd found him at the beach. He looked as calm and friendly as ever, sitting on a beach chair looking out at the ocean. He welcomed me with a smile. "Having trouble with the island, Mr. Ryder?" It's a fickle place. It's not the island, Elias, I said, my voice trembling slightly. It's you. You're trying to sabotage the resort, aren't you? His smile faded, his eyes narrowed. He stood up, towering over me. You have been meddling, haven't you? He said, his voice now cold and devoid of warmth. This resort, it stands between me and what is rightfully mine. He explained his plan. He wanted to buy the land cheaply, build a luxury resort on the hidden cove and the prime real estate, a place to accommodate only himself and his close allies. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that he could drive the current resort into bankruptcy and then make the island his. The accidents were all part of his calculated scheme. The earlier accidents were engineered in the same manner. Henderson, the previous manager, had become suspicious, so he fell off a pier. The hidden cove, I said, my voice barely a whisper. What's so important about it? He chuckled, the sound devoid of any humor. That's for me to know, and for you, to never find out. Just then, I heard a shout and looked over to see a security guard, holding one of the maintenance workers. The guard motioned to me, his face a mask of fear. It turned out the maintenance worker was the one who'd been slipping notes under my door. He'd tried to warn me about Elias, but Elias had found out. Now the workers were being held hostage, and the security guard was forced to take part in the plot. Elias then motioned to two of his other men, and I knew I had to act fast. The wind had picked up, and the storm was brewing again. I knew I had to put a stop to his plot. I ran for the shore, desperate to get help. Elias and his men took off after me. As they ran, the workers followed suit in hopes to aid and assist me, their now former employer. It took a lot of running, and a lot of ducking and diving in the bushes. Finally, I made it to the beach where I saw the familiar face of Captain, and signaled to his ship. The captain was a man that I had met the very first day. I had a strong feeling that he was on my side. Meanwhile, the two men that Elias sent after me didn't know that. They had chased me down the beach, past the water, and were about to catch up to me. I knew that was now or never. I dove to the ground, and they tripped. The security guard had had enough, and tackled Elias down to the ground as the workers swarmed to help, and tie him up. I ran to the side of the boat, and as I was getting ready to step inside, the captain handed me a note. I opened it, and it said, "Go to the cove. Find the treasure. Tell no one." I was confused, and I jumped aboard the ship. The storm had fully arrived by now. The sky was dark, and the waves were churning. The chase had been brutal, and I was exhausted. The relief of being safe on the boat was almost overwhelming. But I also knew that I had a long road ahead. I had to figure out what was hidden in that cove. I had to find out what Elias had been planning all along. As the ship cut through the waves, carrying me away from the ruined paradise, I knew one thing for sure: my new beginning had just begun, and it was not going to be easy. The secret of Coral Cove was waiting. And I was determined to find out what it was.